Good evening, everybody. Guess who? That's right, yours truly, one and only Warrior Man. I was sitting here this evening, finally finding some time to get into the emails that I've received over the last couple weeks from you, responding and commenting on my Warrior's Journal profile of Arias's meditations, and a couple ideas came to mind, a couple inspiring ideas came to mind. I said to myself, what the hell? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to give a stab at recording a brief audio file and just throw it up at the blog and turn everybody on to what I'm thinking. So here I am, going to give it a shot. As I've said many times before, and as I know very well myself, it's not easy to live an inspiring life. It takes a lot of persistent hard work and effort to continually surround yourself with inspiring and motivational influences and people, places, and things. But I can only tell you from my own life experiences that if you will develop the discipline to do that, surround yourself with positive and inspiring influences, stay away from negative people, attitudes, places, and things, the rewards can just be absolutely incredible. And even all these years after working on developing a pretty good habit at motivating myself whenever I need to, I'm still always on the hunt for inspiration and motivation. And whenever I have the time, I enjoy sharing it with other people. Anyway, as I was reading what you wrote, the expressions of two other thinkers, writers, philosophers, inspirators, what have you, came to my mind. And I wanted to share these the thoughts of these two individuals with you. The first guy is Joseph Campbell. He was an American writer and mythologist. He died back in 1987. He spent his lifetime studying the power of mythology on the human psyche. And although he wrote several books, he's best known for his classic book, The Hero with the Thousand Faces. This is a great book with a small g. It's not one of the great books with a capital G that I talk about loving and studying all the time. It may be in the future, I don't know. My opinion is that it probably won't be. It's also a book that inspired or influenced George Lucas in the way that he shaped his own Star Wars movies. I provide you with that piece of trivia only because I remember reading it years ago and it's never left me. I don't do so because I'm an over-the-top Star Wars fan. You will not find me hanging out at any Star Wars conventions. But it was interesting and I just thought I would provide it. Campbell also did this great documentary on PBS a few years before he passed away called The Power of Myth. So I would highly recommend that book, The Hero with the Thousand Faces, in the documentary. They're really inspirational. And the second inspiring influence actually was brought to my mind by me remembering something Joseph Campbell had said about him, and that is Nietzsche. For some reason, a lot of people write me and ask me if I'm a reader of Nietzsche's writings or an admirer of his writings, and I guess what they do is they make some type of association between his whole will to power concept and what my thoughts are about warrior as a concept. Of course, his will to power concept has been more horribly mischaracterized than even I have. So most people don't understand his writings or his thoughts or his ideas or what he put forward in all his books and writings in the right way. But yes, nonetheless, I am an admirer and reader of Nietzsche's writings, and I'm a big admirer and writer of other people who lived contemplative lives or let's say examined their own lives and left behind writings about what they were thinking. I'm a lover of reading and learning, and I like nonfiction stuff better than I like the fictional stuff. I don't know why. I mean, look, many people live their whole lives without one tiny bit of introspective interest. That's just not the way that I'm wired. And I don't know any other way to put it except to each his own, I guess. Anyway, Campbell was talking about his career studying the power of heroic mythology and his own philosophy of life and who and what influenced him. And he said this about Nietzsche. Nietzsche was the one who did the job for me. At a certain moment in his life, the idea came to him of what he called the love of your fate. Whatever your fate is, whatever the hell happens, you say, this is what I need. It may look like a wreck, but go at it as though it were an opportunity, a challenge. If you bring love to that moment, not discouragement, you will find the strength is there, the strength to handle it. Any disaster that you can survive is an improvement in your character, your stature, and your life. He goes on to say, Campbell, then when looking back at your life, you will see that the moments which seem to be great failures followed by wreckage. Man, that's a great line, isn't it? I'll read that again. You will see that the moments which seem to be great failures followed by wreckage. Reminds me of my idea. People say, don't burn bridges in your life, or people will talk about other people who burn so many bridges. And it reminds me of my idea that once you cross a bridge, you should blow the damn thing up. You should blow it all to hell so that you're never tempted in a moment of weakness or doubt moving forward in your life. You're never tempted to want to cross back over for safety's sake, so you can be strong enough to move forward and become more powerful in your life. So anyway, he says, when looking back at your life, you will see that the moments which seem to be great failures followed by wreckage were the incidents that shaped the life you have now. You'll see that this is really true. Nothing can happen to you that is not positive, he says. That's another great line. The meaning of it is, nothing can happen to you that is not positive. Even though it looks and feels at the moment like a negative crisis, it is not. The crisis throws you back, and when you are required to exhibit strength, it comes. Just as he says, this is so true. I mean, all of us have experienced these instances in our lives. All of us have. Yet each time we face a new one, a new different challenging circumstance. And look, I'm talking about challenging circumstances here. You know, the challenging circumstances of everyday life. Nietzsche and Campbell are talking about disasters and crises and tragedies in what they're saying. But every time we face even the typical challenging circumstances in our life, we fight against the potential empowering after effects. In my meditations profile, I highlighted this idea that when one door closes, another one opens. I mean, who hasn't experienced this? Who doesn't understand that the closing doors signifies initially something seen as negative, and the opening door signifies something that is going to be positive? We can all go look back on our lives and recount several instances where this negative leading to something positive, something that initially made us weak, ultimately ends up making us strong. We can all look back and remember many different times where this has happened to us in our lives, but how long do we believe in that? How long after these events where we sort of take comfort in the magnificent, corrective, karmic powers of the universe, how long after those things do we forget that they happened altogether? The truth is that we forget more instances of it happening than we remember. I know in my own life I could just fill up pages and pages and pages of all the different times it's happened to me. But there's something else to look at here. I mean, who are we? When we are all caught up in our misery and our self-pity, who are we to say that we don't need challenges and obstacles in our life that we label bad or negative? How many times have you said or heard other people say, I don't need this, I certainly don't deserve that? Well, how can we be so certain? Have you ever stopped to consider, as Nietzsche did, that we do in fact need these things to happen to us? Why are we so conditioned to see challenges? Again, challenges here, not disasters, not crises, not disasters like what Nietzsche and Campbell are talking about. But why are we so conditioned just to see simple everyday challenges to our lives as a bad thing? How come we are conditioned to bitch and moan about everything that happens to us if we don't consider it to be pleasant or if it makes us feel uncomfortable? Don't all these things in time, as Campbell says, ultimately make us stronger? What about Nietzsche's famous quote, that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger? I mean, you hear it all the time. I mean, people use it all the time. Do you use it just because it sounds tough, makes you sound tough-minded, or do you use it because it is true and you believe it? I mean, one way or another, you have to decide in your life. You can't sit on the fence, because isn't it in your daily life challenging enough to fight for a decent quality of life, a reasonable peace of mind, and a comfort of body? Why then fight with the fate you find yourself in at any particular time? Why give your energy to being frustrated and filled with anger and anxiety, fighting with the damn reality you find yourself stuck in the middle of? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to accept it and do nothing about it. What I'm saying is accept it, but let go of harboring the constant negativity toward the fate, and use all your attention, energy, and concentration on the work to change it. Because if you just fight only with yourself, at yourself, instead of fighting with the work to make the changes, you end up doing nothing at all. Look, there are just some things about the way the world works we can't control. But we can control ourselves to do what we are capable of. This is what Campbell says about that. You're going to love it. He says, the world is perfect. It's a mess. It's always been a mess. A perfect mess, I guess you could call it. That's mine. A perfect mess is mine. We are not going to change it, he says. Our job, he said, is to straighten out our own lives. He's right. But unfortunately, this is one of those truths, or the truth is, this is one of those ideas you can't, as I was saying in my profile and meditations, you can't just pound it into somebody's head. Everybody's got to learn it on their own time clock. But when you are ready, the realization will be there. It's funny and amazing to me, because even people who I considered intelligent in the past are still immature in this respect. And the older they get, the more immature they get. They just continue to spend inordinate amounts of time and energy on things they can't control, they won't ever control, and spend time and energy on things that simply don't matter, that don't matter today, won't matter tomorrow, won't matter years from now. And they just continue to do it without realizing that it just doesn't really matter. And what they need to do is work or spend the energy and time on changing themselves. What about this thing, fate? Nietzsche. What exactly does he mean by this fate that we should love? Well, for me, fate is not something inevitable or unavoidable. Fate is not fixed situations you have no control over. Some people believe this. They call themselves fatalist, and they believe they're born into their lot in life, and that's just the way it is, and there's nothing they can do about it. I don't buy that or believe it, and I don't think that you should either. The outcomes in your life are not predestined or automatic. Living until you die is automatic. Your fate is not. Fates, for me, are simply the numerous circumstances, instances, incidents, crises, situations, all the crossroads in your life you find yourself standing before, where your beliefs, what you don't believe, your doubts, your confidence, your abilities, your inabilities, your knowledge, your lack of knowledge, your experiences, everything about you at that crossroads, at that specific time, is tested and brought forth into the decision-making process. And the quality or lack of quality, or the strength or the weakness of these virtues determines what way in your life you will go next based on the decision that you make. When I think about how I see fate, I can't consider it without considering destiny, because I believe fulfilling your unique destiny has everything to do with how you handle the fates that you face in your lifetime. I just believe, as I've said hundreds if not thousands of times, I believe we're all born with an innate destiny that is singularly unique, just as all of us human beings are one from another. I mean, we all are human beings, we all basically are the same, but we all have a one-of-a-kind, what I call soul print. And I believe your lifetime is an opportunity to unfold your unique destiny. And I believe you do this by handling your fates, the fates you find yourself in during your lifetime. I believe you fulfill your unique destiny by handling your fates with a strong, positive, productive attitude, not a weak, negative, and destructive one. I mean, you gain nothing in your life in the middle of anything or at any point cowering to, caving in, or surrendering to what challenges you. Just like Campbell expresses, if you see the difficulties through, you will improve your character, your stature, your life. And I will also add, you will be closer to fulfilling your unique and powerful destiny in your life. Believe me, if you turn and run, you never will. But turning and running, that's something that you will be doing forever. That is why it is vital that you learn to love your fate. Whatever is going on with you in your life, wherever you find yourself right now, no matter how bad, negative, or ugly it is, learn to love it. And know that if you turn and face it, you will have the strength to handle it. The strength will be there to see you through. And through it, you will become a more powerful human being. Discipline yourself. Discipline yourself to just absolutely adore whatever the hell. I mean, I know it sounds outrageous, but it works. If you will just work on developing the discipline to engage and embrace with enthusiasm whatever the hell, it works. I mean, when hell shows up, just let it know that you've been expecting it and you're ready to have it brought on. Rejoice in its company. I mean, laugh in its face. Be grateful for problems and challenges. Do as I do. Pray for even greater challenges. Never, ever, ever pray for help. Don't pout to God for help. He gave you life. That's help enough. And that's all the help you will ever need. Embrace crises and difficulties with happiness and enthusiasm, so much so that when they're not around anymore and you work your way through them, you miss them like you miss old friends. I mean, it really is true. Only through the challenges and the tests and the crises and the disasters and the tragedies, only through all the muck do you find out what you are truly made of. Emerson put it in a great way. He said, God will not have his work made manifest by cowards. And if that's too serious for you, how about this one? Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. I love that. That is awesome. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Look, don't be a coward in your life. Enjoy the ride, the whole ride, even the scary parts too. Living life to the fullest is for warriors, not wimps. I gotta run. Good night. Always believe.